Historically, gold has been considered a safe haven asset, retaining or increasing its value during times of financial turmoil and economic uncertainty. This is due to its intrinsic value, universal acceptance, and lack of correlation with traditional assets like stocks and bonds. In uncertain times, some investors try to buy the dip with stocks. Others buy bonds. But when the economy shows serious signs of high inflation, political volatility, or a looming recession, gold tends to steal the spotlight. After all, it's been the go-to store of value for centuries. After 1945, the price of gold was fixed at $35 per ounce. And today? Is gold really the ultimate safe haven in economic storms? Or is it just a shiny distraction from better long-term options? One expert says the truth sits somewhere in between. So, is it? To try to answer this question, we first need to see what fiat money is. The basic definition is, fiat money is a form of currency issued by a government. Very concise and empty in its meaning. We will have to go back a bit to see how it all started. In the time of the nomads, good old barter era, the first forms of trade were the exchange of goods for goods. Over time, this also extended to services. It went on like that, until gold became a symbol of power and success. Gold became the universal means of payment in the then-known world, although in fact it had no use value, apart from the mentioned above. As trade developed and expanded, distance became an obstacle that hindered trade. Logistically, to take the gold to the country where you want to buy the goods, as well as to bring the goods home. It was a problem that needed to be solved by organizing defenses, military patrols on trade routes, by building trade posts, organizing overnight stays for people and livestock. It was organized by states, cities that saw the benefit of participating in solving that problem. As a result, trade became more and more extensive, and more countries became involved. How to start the story about the banknote? It would be correct to start the story with the Italian word banco and word banconota. This refers to the benches used by moneylenders and money changers in Renaissance-era Italy to conduct their business in open markets. When a lender went bankrupt, their bench was literally broken, giving the Italian bancarotta rise to the term bankrupt. The document issued by the bank was not even called banknote, but was a statement, obligation, promise, or something that must be fulfilled. How does that work? Merchant Marco Polo from the city of Venice wants to go to Paris to buy expensive French wines. But the roads are dangerous, unsafe, and the journey will take several days, and it is not acceptable to travel with 100 gold coins in his pocket. So, the merchant Marco Polo from Venice took his 100 gold coins to the Bank of the City of Siena, and the Bank of the City of Siena gives the merchant Marco Polo from Venice a note. And the note said, "The Bank of the City of Siena obliges the Bank of the City of Paris to hand over 100 gold coins to person Marco Polo from Venice." Marco Polo cannot directly acquire goods with that document. He cannot get that gold in another city or another bank, and he cannot transfer that document to a third party. The bank does not ask if Marco Polo really gave the gold. The bank is obliged to hand over the gold to Marco Polo. If Marco Polo didn't have those 100 gold coins, and he is asking for a loan from the bank will give him exactly the same document. The document was simply called note. The term note and the term bank were never used in the same context as banknote. The only place where the two expressions collided was in ordinary conversation like note from Bank of Siena or Bank of Siena note in very different context. And the document actually had no value and was not backed by any property or assets liabilities. A gold standard is a monetary system in which the standard economic unit of account is based on a fixed quantity of gold. It is a good definition, but we need something more specific. The United Kingdom was the first country that established a de facto gold standard in 1717, formally adopt the gold standard in 1816. This standard lasted until the First World War, when it was cancelled. The increase in trade has pushed gold trading issues to the surface. Carrying large quantities of metal coins was cumbersome and presented security risks. At first, Paper notes offered a lighter, more portable alternative until paper money took over. Banknotes were given a nominal value, they were valid for the bearer, they could be used until they were worn out, and they were named banknotes. This is how paper money was created, today's paper money. Let's go back to 1717. If you happen to have 10 ounces of gold in 1717, and if you go to the Bank of England, they will give you £10 for your gold. On the way out, you fall into a wormhole that throws you back to the first black hole, where you can see how the black hole sees the rest of the universe, and then you're spat out back to Earth. Your adventure didn't last more than 20 seconds, but on Earth it was almost 200 years. You are still ahead of the Bank of England, but 1913. You walk in and for £10 you get your 10 ounces of gold. That's the whole point of gold-backed paper money. But paper money is fiat money, which means it has value only as an accepted medium of exchange. Before 1971, this was not the case. U.S. banknotes were backed by a certain amount of gold, which was dictated by the Federal Reserve. Is gold a safe haven? Gold had its, so to speak, golden moments. Throughout history, gold was not the only metal used in the exchange of goods. There was silver, copper, zinc, and their mixtures. That's as much as technology allowed. In 1717, Britain introduced the gold standard, formally in 1816. The countries agreed that gold would become a universal means of payment. The first rule that describes fiat money made legal tender by a government decree. Data show that from the introduction of the gold standard in 1717 until its abolition due to the First World War, inflation in Britain was 0.1% for those 200 years. Did gold have a part in it? I would rather bet on slavery and colonialism than on some kind of economy, production management, forecasting trends. The abolition of the gold dollar in 1971, thanks to Nixon, allowed us to see how the so-called economy works, with or without gold. Only wars. World so-called economy is war economy. Is gold a safe haven? Gold has finally become what it always was. The Roman Colosseum, the Olympic Games, the Premier League. Another row in the endless series of rows on the stock exchange market. This is how we have reached the moment when the only purpose of our dear planet Earth is the existence of logistic trade corridors, and everything that goes with it. Customs duties, tariffs, sanctions, crises, wars, and everything what is left is the final war. So that the story of trade reaches its climax, where there is nothing left to sort out. Did you ever feel like the world as you knew it just ended? One moment, and you're standing in the ruins of what used to be your city. The sky, once blue, is now a permanent shade of gray, choked with the dust of fallen buildings. The last campfires, waiting to be extinguished, smoke and ashes. Only animals wandering in the distance will witness the end of the flame that started hundreds of thousands of years ago, like new civilization. And as for the Fourth World War, only the stake will remain to wage the war among themselves. After more than 3 months, we open the doors of the nuclear bunker. We slowly go outside. To the left, on a dusty wooden chair, something glinted in the light. A small pile of gold coins. Unbelievable. But then, our eyes drifted to the right. On a small table, perfectly preserved, sat a single solitary can of sardines. In the distance, I see only the ruins of my city. There is no more city. A decision must be made. You can take only one item.